All right, guys, I'm going to explain to you how to assemble your Coleman CT200U after you get it. They send you the full set of wrenches here, makes the assembly really easy. Our first step here is to get these handlebars bolted on. You're going to want to put something underneath the mid part of the frame here. I'm going to use a jack, but you can use a block or a jack stand, blocks of wood, anything you got that's strong and sturdy. You're just going to want to lift this up right here carefully and put something under the main section right under the engine there, which lifts it up, which gives you some room to work and get your mini bike assembled. To bolt this on here, first we're going to take this main bolt out of the steering column here, and there's some washers here which are very important and they need to go on in a specific order. So we will put this thing on right here, and we're going to keep all of our throttle lines and brake lines over to the left side of the mini bike. So we want to have a small washer here, a large washer here, and then a large washer underneath. I'm just going to set the small washer they send right on top there. It's a little tricky to line up, but once you get that down, now we want to put a large washer underneath here. And now through the bottom bracket of the forks. And then finally, the large washer on the bottom, and then the nut. And then we're going to tighten this thing up. The nut on the bottom is a 14 millimeter, so I'm going to take my 14 millimeter wrench there, and then my 16 for the top of the bolt head, and we're just going to tighten that up. Now, the nut on this is a nylock, and the nylock has a little insert in it that prevents it from vibrating off, and you're going to notice there's a little gap here, which is on purpose. If we tighten this up so this top and bottom bracket actually squeeze this fork column here, it's going to bind up the steering and it's not going to steer nice. So you don't actually have to make this very tight, because that nylock is what's going to keep that bolt held on. It's not the tightness of the bolt. So we're just going to tighten this up nice and snug. Make sure that that bolt is sticking out of the bottom of this nylock here to make sure that we have that nylon insert in that nut fully engaged. And we have a little bit of play there, so we know we're not binding that up. Now we're ready to move on to the next step. So next we're going to be installing our front fender, which you can see is this piece here, and the side with the Coleman logo will go front. And there'll be 2 bolts here that come in this plastic bag. So we're just going to drop the bolts down through, put the nuts up through the bottom, and tighten those up. Don't forget the 2 large washers they send in here. The washers will go underneath. So we can just hold this up here, drop this down through, put the washer and nut underneath. Got that started, so we'll move to the back. Drop that down through. Put the washer on. So the washer needs to go on the bottom. It doesn't really matter if you put the bolt down through or up through, but you want that washer on the bottom. I think the directions actually say to have the nut on the bottom, but it really doesn't matter, other than you have to have that washer down below. The nut down below is a 12, and up top, I think it's a 10 here. Yep, so we're just going to tighten that up. All right, so we got that tight. So the next step is to put the front wheel on. We're almost done. And the front wheel, also very easy to install. You're going to want to take this axle nut off here. Just watch these 2 washers here. Also, these are very important. You want a washer on the inside of the forks on both sides. So we're going to start this here, take our tire. I think they said there's a front and back. Yeah, if you notice on the tire, you're going to see an arrow. So you want that pointing towards the front. So I'm going to slide this up in here. All right, I don't have my mini bike up quite high enough, so let me jack this up a hair. If you're using blocks, you may have to lift it up a hair. All right, slide that through. Don't forget your washer on this side as well. That pops through. Put your nut on and tighten it up. Once again, do not over tighten this. You do not want to squeeze the wheel. That'll stop it from rotating. You just want the nylock to be engaged on the threads of the bolt. So we're just going to tighten it enough that sticks out. But if you turn this and it doesn't spin nice like that, you over tightened it, loosen it back up a little bit. You see that? It's not spinning quite as nice anymore as it was. I tightened it too far. I'm just going to loosen this up. Remember, you don't need to worry that that's tight. As long as the bolt came the whole way through the nut, the nylock inside of that nut is going to keep that bolt on there. All right, look at that. See how much nicer that's spinning? So make sure you back that off if you over tighten it, and you can almost hear the bearings dragging because there's too much pressure. So back it off a little until it spins nice like that. We are on the home stretch here, so you just want to rotate this left and right and make sure these aren't binding up. As long as they don't get tight, if they do, you might have them wrapped around the wrong way or something, but there should be enough play on this side here that this can turn the entire way left or right, and these are fine. So then you're just going to want to take the 2 zip ties they send along. So we're going to zip tie all 3 up here near the top, and then we're going to put one a little lower. You'll notice one of these cables shoots over to the side here. That is the throttle cable. So the kill switch and the brake come down this side. We're going to zip tie that a little bit lower here. Keep those nice and tight. And then just check again, make sure you still have free movement here. Nothing's binding up. Helps keep those out of the way. You can snip the end of that zip tie off there. There's also a little clip here if you want. You can snap that shut around the kill switch wires. Tighten that up, make that look nice and neat. That piece here will just snap shut like that. You can just put the wires up inside there, and that just snaps like that. So keeps it looking nice. And the last step, you just take this plastic engine cover, and it goes on these brackets here to cover up the chains, keep your legs nice and safe. There's going to be 4 cotter pins in the bag, and these will just snap through. You're just going to hook this on to those brackets. Very simple. And then the little hole sticking up here, we're just going to snap a couple cotter pins right through that. And that probably keeps that from popping off, but also makes it very easy to access later if you need to get in there to check something or to adjust the tension. All right, we are almost done. We got it all assembled, but it is not ready to start yet. They do not ship the engine with oil in it, so you need to add oil before you start it or you will ruin your engine. Please don't do that. You have to add oil. Right here is the oil fill. You're just going to unscrew this and fill this up with oil. It should fill up right to the edge there. It takes 0.6 quarts, but you're filling this up. It'll run out and over once you have too much in it. But I'm just going to lower this a little, get that front tire on the ground. And we're going to get a funnel here, put some oil in this so we can start this thing up. All right, so we got our oil in there. We're just going to put our oil fill cap back in. So because the engine is brand new, it's actually a good idea to run it for a few hours and change your oil. The first time you run oil, like the engine's going to be breaking in. There's going to be tiny little bits of metal as things are wearing in and setting in. You don't have to do this, but if you change your oil, ride it for like 4 hours and then change your oil with brand new fresh oil. It's really good for your engine. All right, guys, well, that's pretty much it. Once you have your oil in, you're going to want to add gas in your gas can here and get this thing started. The startup manual also walks you through. You want to check, make sure you got air in your tires, that your chain's not loose, and how to adjust your brake here. But that's it for the assembly. I hope you found this video helpful. Oh, listen to that.